Here's a rare archival clip of Amelia Earhart in her cockpit just moments before takeoff on her ill-fated flight around the world in 1937. These were her final words. "This is the beginning of my 9th day over the sea. Just before starting on the longest hop of the flight, more than 24 hours of flying over water, I thought I would take a brief rest before starting the motors. This is what I get for trying to be a thrill seeker." Now, pause the video and, in the comments, answer this question. Do you think Amelia crash landed in the Pacific Ocean and was lost at sea forever? Or did something far more sinister take her life? Welcome back, everyone. Today, we are going to cover Part 1, The Legend of Amelia. In Part 2, the theories that shook the world, including one that will absolutely shock you. And then in Part 3, the 2023 breakthrough. Now, when I say that Amelia Earhart was a legend, I'm not kidding. She loved adventure and danger. She broke records, pushed boundaries, and became an international celebrity. This is a rare clip of Amelia breaking the women's transatlantic flight record in 1932. Here she is landing in Ireland after taking off from New York City. You can see the crowd on the ground cheering her on. And here's some footage of her arriving back in New York City, where she was greeted by thousands of people. If you were alive at the time, could you imagine the excitement? Here's a clip of her speaking to the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have just flown over the Atlantic Ocean from Ireland to New York in under 14 hours, which is a new women's transatlantic flight record." The crowd cheers wildly. And here's some exclusive interview footage with aviation historian Richard A. Lockman, who says, "She was the darling of the media, a true international celebrity. There was no one else like her." All right, now let's turn our attention to the unthinkable. What if Amelia's disappearance was not an accident? What if there was foul play involved? Before we move on to the theories, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and to like this video. As a thank you, here's a poll. Would you risk your life for adventure? Comment below, yes or no. And now, let's get back to Amelia. It was July 1937, and Amelia had one more flight to complete on her around-the-world journey. It was a short hop from Papua New Guinea to Howland Island in the Indian Ocean, just 411 miles. But things started to go wrong almost immediately after takeoff. Her navigator, Fred Noonan, noted, "Everything seemed perfect for the flight, but when the ship was 20 degrees off Howland Island, they realized they were off course. Amelia quickly turned the aircraft around and pressed on. But then, disaster struck. She ran out of gas and her plane went down into the Pacific Ocean. The United States and New Zealand coordinated a massive search effort, but they never found a trace of Amelia or her plane. And it's been almost 90 years since her disappearance. We still don't know exactly what happened to her. And now we're going to dive into 3 very different theories to try to find answers. Theory number 1, crash in the Pacific. Many believe that the simplest explanation is also the correct one. What if Amelia simply crashed in the ocean and her body has never been recovered? Author and retired U.S. Navy Captain Robert J. Moorman wrote a book called Amelia Earhart, The Search and the Discovery. He believes that he has found where Amelia's plane went down, and using sonar technology, he took these images, which he says are the clearest evidence yet that her plane rests at the bottom of the ocean. These images show the distinct shape of an aircraft and what appears to be a human skeleton. Could this really be the missing plane and Amelia's final resting place? Well, the jury is still out on that one. Theory number 2, captured by Japan. Some believe that Amelia was captured by the Japanese army while flying over the Pacific Ocean. This theory was put forth by researcher and author Kazuo Ishii, who spent many years poring over classified World War II documents in Japanese archives. His findings are shocking. According to his research, the Japanese military knew that Amelia was flying through the Marshall Islands, and they sent 2 warships to intercept her. The plan was to capture her plane and any useful technology inside it. Once they realized that she was a famous American aviator, they decided to hold her as a hostage. On July 1937, they allegedly executed both Amelia and her navigator, Fred Noonan, and threw their bodies into the ocean. To support this theory, Ishihara showed this photo taken on July 29, 1937, just 3 weeks after Amelia disappeared. In the photo, you can see 2 skeletons on the beach. Ishihara claims these are the remains of Amelia and her navigator. Now, how did this photo surface after all this time? Well, according to Ishihara, this image was considered too sensitive by the Japanese government, and it was locked away for decades. Only recently did they declassify the document and allow him to examine it. So, what do you think? Is this really Amelia and her navigator on this beach in the Marshall Islands? Let me know in the comments. But there's another theory that's even more bizarre. Theory number 3, alien abduction. Okay, now before I continue with this theory, I want to make something clear. There is absolutely no concrete evidence that aliens exist. But there are millions of people out there who believe that aliens do visit our planet, and some believe that they may have actually abducted Amelia Earhart. In a recent documentary about Amelia, filmmaker Jason Colavito said, "If you look at the available evidence, there are a lot of UFO sightings around Howland Island during the time that she was missing. It's a fascinating coincidence that we can't ignore." So, what was that evidence? Well, let's take a look at the timeline. On June 1937, 5 months before Amelia went missing, a Japanese tanker spotted a strange object flying over Howland Island. The object was metallic, cigar-shaped, and about 150 feet long. It was definitely not a plane because it didn't make a sound. Then on July, one witness claimed to have seen a bright flash of light over the island. And then, on July, the day that Amelia went missing, there was a huge blackout in the Marshall Islands, causing all of the lights to go out across the region. Now, these are all very strange coincidences, but they don't prove that aliens were involved in Amelia's disappearance. But what if there is more to the story? What if something unknown, something extraterrestrial, reached out and took Amelia up into the sky, never to be seen again? Alright, now we come to the final part of this video. Part 3. The 2023 breakthrough. Could this be the biggest news since Elvis Presley was found dead on the bathroom floor in 1977? Retired U.S. Navy Captain Robert J. Moorman believed for years that Amelia's plane went down on or near Nikumaroro Island in the Indian Ocean. The theory was that after running out of gas, Amelia managed to land her plane on the beach of the island, but it was damaged beyond repair. Using a metal detector, she and her navigator, Fred Noonan, left the island to try to find help. But tragically, they never made it back. In fact, the bones that were discovered on the island 58 years ago may have belonged to Fred Noonan. According to Dr. Richard J. H. Folsom, who conducted an analysis of the bones show definite signs of having been gnawed by sharks, which would be consistent with someone who has drowned. It is quite possible that these are the bones of Frederick J. Noonan. So, what does this mean? Well, if the bones did belong to Noonan, it means that he and Amelia probably did crash land on the island. But what happened next? Did they survive the crash? Did they die on the island? Or were they taken by something or somebody? Well, in July 2023, a team of divers descended into the waters near Nikumaroro Island on a mission to find answers. They combed the ocean floor for artifacts and human remains. After a week-long search, they came up empty-handed except for one item, a leather glove. But is this glove Amelia's? Take a close look. Does it appear to be old? Is it a man's glove or a woman's? And why did the divers only find a single glove? Were the others lost in the shuffle of history, or is this nothing more than a cruel hoax? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Now for the finale, here's an aerial shot of the Pacific Ocean where Amelia disappeared almost 90 years ago. Out there somewhere beneath those waves lies her plane, the Electra. And in part 2 of this series, coming to you next week, we will dive deep into the CIA files they tried to burn. Don't miss it. Subscribe now. Subscribe now to unlock the secret they tried to bury. Eerie whispers fade in. Thanks for watching, But the mystery doesn't end here. See you in the next one.